Alright, so as promised in my last video, I'm now doing a tier list on all Seekers of the Storm items now that they've been reworked, so I'm not going to waste any time. I'm just going to get started with this. So, starting off with Warped Echo, honestly, there's not much to say about Warped Echo. It's just going to be an A tier. Now, Warped Echo is really good. Like, before, it didn't really do anything, I'm not going to lie, because you still took full damage before, and there was actually a bug in Eclipse 8 with Warped Echo where you would take more curse than normal if you had it, which just made it terrible, right? But now it's fixed and now it's better. The main reason why I'm going to put this up at A tier is because of the 30% damage reduction. That goes way further than a lot of people think it is. 30% damage reduction is a surprisingly large amount for one item. So the thing is with this is that I don't think the splitting damage doesn't really do anything. Like, technically it synergizes with Razor Wire, but again, this is risk-free too. Especially if you're playing in Eclipse, you don't want to be taking damage to deal damage. Something to note about Warped Echo is that the 30% damage reduction actually works on Void Cradles and Blood Shrines, which is actually like a pretty unique interaction that I just found out recently. But yeah, honestly, Warped Echo, 30% damage reduction is 30% damage reduction. That's really good. So it's just going to go right to A tier. So next up, Bolstering Lantern. So attack speed, I feel like attack speed has this problem where it's like kind of like character specific. Characters like Railgunner, Loader, they don't really need attack speed, while like Commando and Multi do need it. I feel like another thing about Bolstering Lantern is I think the range is kind of short. Like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like I get a lot of value out of this whenever I use it. It's still not a bad item. Like, there's absolutely no way it's in C or D tier. Like, I'm gonna have to put Lantern in B tier because honestly, it's good. I just don't think it's like up here with like Warped Echo, you know? But the attack speed is good. I feel like the problem is that it kind of falls off a bit during Mithrix. If you have drones, it's better, but the thing is you actually have to rely on the drones to be within the radius for that to actually work. But yeah, like it falls off a bit during Mithrix, especially during Phase 1. In Phase 3, when you have the additional Lunar Chimera spawning, it can be fine. I just feel like most of the time, I'm not getting the max benefit out of this item, which kind of makes me not want to put it in A. It's good, don't get me wrong. It's not a bad item, but I don't think it's A or S tier. Definitely not S tier. I just don't think it's good enough to be A tier. So moving on with Chronic Expansion. This item, I feel like it's way better now, obviously. I don't know where to put it. Like, my personal opinion is A tier, but I think the realistic opinion is B tier here. So the thing is that Chronic Expansion, it's just, I feel like it's more consistent now. Like, before, there wasn't a max cap, but you did have to kill, like, 5 enemies just to get 10% damage, or 10% damage increase. But now it's, like, on, at least on the first stack now, it's 3.5 per kill, up to 10. Meaning that one stack of this is technically a 35% damage increase, which will multiply with all your other damage increasing items. I'm really inclined to put this in A, mainly because of how it stacks. The way Chronic Expansion stacks is you not only have a higher max amount of enemies killed, but it also increases the effectiveness of the damage boost from each enemy killed. So it's like +5 on the max kill counter, and then +1% damage per kill, per stack. Which, that's really great scaling. Like, if you find a printer of this, like, honestly, if you have 3 Chronic Expansions, that's a lot of damage. That's, like, a lot of damage. This is even better now, I'd argue, with FMP than it was before. Like, if you have an FMP, if it's S tier, but obviously we're not going to tier list items based off of having an equipment, because that makes no sense. I think it's actually pretty usable during Mithrix now, too, believe it or not, because Phase 2, you get all the Chimera, you can kill them to actually build this up, and then if you just shoot Mithrix in Phase 3, the buff will never go away. And actually, since there's more Chimera spawning during Phase 3 of Mithrix, you can still get more kills then if you have multiple stacks. So I actually don't scrap this item before going to Mithrix because of that. I think it's kind of it's like usage during Mythics is kind of slept on. I don't see anybody really talking about the fact that this is like actually usable during Mythics now. I want to, my personal opinion is A, but I think realistically speaking it's B because it's not always going to be doing something. Like, it's going to be doing a lot during teleporter events, yeah, but like just during general stage clear, most of the time it's not really going to be doing anything, and also the beeping is annoying. So, B tier. Next up, Elusive Antlers. Now, these are just really good. I don't really know if I'm going to put these on S. Like, they're good. I don't know if they're S tier good. That's the thing. So, they're at the bare minimum, like, top of A, though, because this is just, like, the amount of speed you get from just one antler is really crazy. So, on the first stack of Elusive Antlers, you're getting a 43% movement speed boost if you pick up all three, like, spirits. So, it's just kind of crazy. It's easily the best speed item in the game. Like, it just is. Like, there's really no debate, in my opinion, that this is the best speed item in the game. You gain 43% movement speed on the first stack, assuming you have all three orbs picked up, and then 19% movement speed additional per stack if you pick up the orbs. I think that, like, speaks for itself. Like, that scales better than any of the other white movement speed items. I just don't think it's S. Like, it's a really good item. Don't get me wrong. Like, this is really strong. But I don't think it's S strong. So I think, because of that, I'm going to have to put it in A. Like, this is definitely sitting high A. Like, this is not, like, mid or low A. This is high A. I don't think it deserves the S tier title, though. So, starting off with the green items, there's Chance Style. Like, honestly, I don't think there's even much to say about Chance Style. It's just an easy A tier. It's great at what it does. Like, it just increases the chances of better items from Chance Shrines, which is good, obviously. It's just good at what it does. There's not much to say about it. It was already good before, still good now. Some new visuals and stuff. Just easy A tier. There's really not much even to say about this item. So, up next, we have Luminous Shot. Now, Luminous Shot is really hard to rank, in my opinion, because tier lists, you know, the problem with just ranking items is that some items, like Luminous Shot, are just gonna be, like, way better on some survivors than on others. Like, on False Sun, like, this is easily just right up here, because you can just dump your secondary into something and then hit it with your Luminous Shot. But there's other characters that just don't utilize Luminous Shot as well. But as for, like, the reworked functionality of Luminous Shot, it's definitely way better now. It feels like it actually does something now, which is nice. But the thing is that it's not going to be good on every survivor, obviously, because that's just, like, how an item... Like, if there's an item that relies on a character using their secondary a bunch to, like, do damage, like, obviously only the characters that are going to be using their secondaries or have low secondary skill cooldowns, they're going to be better. Like, this is really good on False Sun, like, Acrid. Like, there's currently a thing with Loader where you can just spam your grapple into the air and instantly max this out. But it's probably B tier. It's really hard to rank an item like Luminous Shot because it's too character specific to get an exact ranking for it. Like, it's gonna be way better than B tier on some survivors, but also, like, lower than B tier on some survivors. So it's just kind of hard to rank. So, but, like, generally speaking, B tier. I think B tier is just a solid spot for it. So next up, Noxious Thorn. I actually love this item now. Like, before it was trash. Like, take damage, deal damage, just don't do it. Like, before, terrible, did, like, nothing. But now, really, really, really good AoE. On top of that, you get the 10% bleed on the first stack, which is really good for proc survivors. So that's really nice. But the AoE is so consistent with this. Like, if you get one gasoline, this just takes off instantly. And not to mention, it stacks really well. It stacks really well, actually. Like, the way this stacks is great. Like, it stacks in range, I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure it stacks in range. But it also stacks the amount of targets that it can extend to, which is really nice. I think overall, it's just A tier. It's really solid. It's really consistent. Like, if you have one gasoline, it just goes crazy. And it's really good. Like, really good on Artificer and Acrid and stuff. And actually, this transfers Expose from Mercenary onto other enemies which is really powerful on Mercenary. Like, if you get this on Mercenary, make sure to not scrap it because it transfers exposed to other enemies, which is really, really good. So, with Breaching Fin, honestly, Breaching Fin, I like this item. There's a lot of people that say they hate it still. But the thing is that even if you don't like it, it is undeniable that Breaching Fin is just really good now. It counts as a buff for Growth Nectar, which we'll get to later. It actually is bugged to count as 2 debuffs for Deathmark, but that's not really the main reason. So the main reason why Breaching Fin is so good right now is because on each time you hit an enemy up, it's like an extra 20% increase in damage to that enemy, which will multiply with all your other damage sources. And I think, don't quote me on this, but Breaching Fin is bugged right now where the bonus damage is exponential rather than multiplicative. I just heard this through word of mouth, and don't quote me on that, but if we're assuming the item works properly, like assuming that the item was working exactly how it was intended to, you would gain a 60% increase to damage on a specific target with just 1 stack of this, which is really crazy. And that multiplies with all your other damage sources. It's just good. Like, it's undeniable that Breaching Fin is A tier. Like, it definitely is not with any of these items. It's not S. S is reserved for, like, the select few items on down here that are going to be just extremely powerful. But it's definitely A tier. It does a lot of damage. It stuns. It counts as a buff. It counts as 2 debuffs. It's just great. I don't know much else to say about it. It's just a good item. So I'm going to move on to my personal favorite rework, actually. Unstable Transmitter. Now, I'm going to put Unstable Transmitter right up in S tier. So there's actually a couple reasons for this. First off, thing that everybody probably already knows about this is just an infinitely replenishing elixir. Like, it's on a 45-second cooldown on the first stack, which is just insane, by the way. That cooldown is so short. That cooldown should not be short. Honestly, like, a deserved nerf for this would just be only using it once a stage. But, like, a 45-second cooldown is just crazy on this. But the 45-second cooldown is not the only reason why it's crazy. So, obviously, you know, when you get below 25% HP, you instantly gain a 75% barrier, which is just crazy. Like, you just gain barrier worth 75% of your max HP instantly. But not only that, it actually goes before your watches end elixirs, so you're not even going to break your elixirs with this thing. And you're never breaking watches with this. Like, if you have watches and an Unstable Transmitter, those watches are never getting broken. Just straight up. Like, it's just not going to happen. Like, this item is so unbelievably powerful. Like, whenever I pick this up, I just know the run just got, like, 3x easier because you can, like, afford to make mistakes with this item and still be perfectly fine. Which is why it's crazy. Like, some people might put it in A because it's like, oh, just don't get hit. But, like, it's the hypothetical scenario where you do get hit that makes it S tier because this is just so powerful. But the best part about Unstable Transmitter, the actual reason why I am putting it in S tier, is that it is one-shot protection. Like, you cannot die to the hit that procs Unstable Transmitter. So if you're on, like, 50% of your max health and you get hit by, like, an overloading Elderly Marion, something that would one-shot you, you just won't die. Like, you just don't die to this. Like, you just will not die to it. It acts as, like, its own one-shot protection, which is just so crazy to me. Like, I don't think people understand how overpowered that is, because I still see people sleeping on Unstable Transmitter. Like, this item is so good just because of the one-shot protection, obviously for other reasons, but, like, the one-shot protection is so strong, and that's why I'm putting it in S tier. Like, you just cannot die with this item in your inventory. It's so hard. It's just so hard to die with this in your inventory. It's crazy. So, enough said about Unstable Transmitter. I think you guys get the point. I kind of went on a rant about that, but Prayer Beats, I'm not gonna lie, just solid B tier. Like, it's not, like, bad by any means, but it's not good. Like, it's not crazy. Like, it's good, but it's not, like, really good, you know? Pick it up, you scrap it, you get some stats. There's really not that much to say about it. It's just, like, kind of there. It does its job. It's not amazing, but it's also fine. Sale Star, I don't think this really needs much debate. S tier, you just get double items from big chests, double items from legendary chests, and if you're lacking with damage, you can open a damage chest with it. It's really good for macro itemization. It makes the game more fun, in my opinion. Sale Star makes the game more fun, just like by existing. But like the actual functionality of it is really good. Getting double items from a select chest is really powerful. If you're lacking in speed, you can open up a utility chest, or you know, like just a big chest, get double green double green items. You know, open up a legendary chest, get double red items. It's just really powerful. I don't think it needs much explaining how powerful Sale Star is. It's just really good. Easily S tier. Growth Nectar, same situation. I don't think this needs much debate. On the first stack of this, you're getting a 28% increase to all of your buffs. That's almost 3 Radiant Pearls. And not to mention, like, it has a max stack of 4 buffs if you have one of these, right? It is so easy to get buffs in this game now. It's crazy because literally everything that's in your buff bar is just going to count as buffs. Just literally everything in your buff bar, which is really crazy to me. Because like before, the thing that was holding this item back before this update is the fact that like half of the things down in your buff bar just didn't count as buffs, even though they were buffs. Which was just really annoying, and it made this item just feel like so inconsistent. But now it's like consistently really overpowered. Like I think it's easily top 5 items in the game now. Like whenever I see this come out of a chest, I just know I won the run. Like that's how good it is. And you know, not to mention like this isn't like kind of unrealistic because getting 2 of the same red item in one run isn't that probable. But if you have 2 of these and you have 8 buffs, that's a 112% increase to all of your stats. So basically just a little bit over 11 Irradiant Pearls, which is really crazy. Like I don't think I need to explain why that's dumb. But this item is easily just extremely overpowered now, and I don't think there should really be much debate on that at all, to be honest. So starting off with the red items, Runic Lens. This has actually always been good. Like on release of Seekers of the Storm, this was already really powerful. I think the reason why people didn't really know what it did on release is because the visuals for it were like horrible. Like they were so bad on release, but now the visuals are updated and it looks really nice. But Runic Lens has always been really powerful. It's just like probably like the easiest A tier of my life. Like on high damage survivors like Loader and Railgunner, you're gonna be proccing this thing on every single hit, and it's still good on survivors that don't even do a lot of damage on like per hit. Like this is still really powerful on Commando. Like you will see this proccing a lot on Commando. Like it's just good. Like it can proc bans, it can proc ATGs. Apparently, don't quote me on this part, but apparently it can actually proc itself, I've heard. I've never seen that actually happen, so don't quote me on that. But apparently it can proc itself. It's just really good. It's just like a red ATG if you really think about it. Except it's just even better than ATG. Easily just like one of the better red items. Definitely in the top 10 best red items. Actually, that might be a stretch. I'm just kind of saying that. It's really good. The point is, it's really good. One of the best red items. Really consistent on high damage survivors, and it's still good on low damage survivors. Sonorous Whispers. Still A tier. Used to be S tier. Got nerfed. I say A tier. The thing with Sonorous Whispers is that its actual usefulness really just depends on when in the run you get it. Because if you get it on stage 1, easy S tier. If you get it on stage 5, straight into D tier. Couple extra items is always good. If you get on stage 1, it's going to be way more than a couple. But like there's really not much to say about this. It's just you get extra items from it. It's just depends on like when you get it in the run. So it's just generally A tier, I'd say. Not S tier. Used to be S tier. Not anymore. Definitely A tier now. War Bonds, A tier. A lot of people are saying War Bonds S tier. I just don't think it's like it's great. Like this item is really powerful. I cannot stress this enough. It's just not S tier. Like these 3 items are just OP. War Bonds is great, but it's not like overpowered. The thing is with War Bonds, the reason why it's so powerful is because it has not only has a proc coefficient, it procs bands, but it also like scales with all your damage multipliers. The fact that it's a proc coefficient is insane, by the way. I don't really think this needs a proc coefficient. I think it should just scale with your damage and that's it. I think that'd be a proper nerf to it. But this is really powerful now. It kind of just nukes Phase 1 Mythics. That doesn't make it S tier, by the way. Nuking Phase 1 Mythics. That does not make it S tier. Because Phase 1 Mythics is already really easy. It's just kind of like a time saver. I see it kind of like a time saver, low-key. You just like build up all the stacks for it, and then it just nukes your teleporter boss and kills it instantly. And now you don't have to worry about killing it yourself, which is always really nice. Really powerful. Does a lot of damage to bosses, obviously. That's like its intended purpose, but it's just really powerful. I don't think it needs a proc coefficient at all. The fact that it has one is kind of crazy. I think that's enough said about War Bonds. Like, I think everyone knows that War Bonds is good now. I just don't think it's S tier good. Like, it's definitely good. Really powerful item. Easily A tier. Definitely not anywhere lower, but also definitely not S tier. Similar situation with Electric Boomerang. Like, Electric Boomerang, it's just really powerful. It's a proc. This thing, Electric Boomerang, it's a proc machine. Because I'm pretty sure, 90% sure, because it procs a lot of stuff, that it procs things in the initial hit and also the hit on the way back. And it also stuns. And the fact that it stuns is really good because of the way Seekers of the Storm rework stuns. Like, stuns can stack now. So if you just, like, pump an Elder Lumerian filled with, like, 25 Electric Boomerangs, like, on Commando or something, he'll just be standing still for, like, 50 seconds. Like, stun stacking is crazy. I don't know why they even made that change. It exists. This thing has a proc coefficient of 1, so it's just, it procs a lot of your ATGs, procs a lot of your ukuleles, polylutes, just procs everything. It's just good, and also, apparently, Seekers of the Storm, like, in this update, the Salmarang Electric Boomerang bug was supposed to be patched, but it just never was. Like, it still works just fine. It's probably gonna get hotfixed, or maybe they're just not even gonna patch it until the next roadmap update, but like, the bug where this bleeds if you have Salmarang is still in the game, even though they said it was fixed. Easy A tier. It's really good on proc survivors. Really, like really strong proc survivors. It can still work on other survivors that aren't necessarily proc, but it, like, this thing really excels on proc survivors. Like, really. Longstanding Solitude. Don't need to explain why this is an S tier. I don't use Lunars, but if I did, this would just be an instant pickup every time. I don't know why the hell they buffed it. That is the craziest decision I've ever seen. Like, this item, it allows you to get max level without looping very easily. And then they still buffed it, which is really strange to me. So, in case you didn't know what the buff does, it just makes it so you, like, your free unlocks from this transfer between stages, which is a pretty nice quality life change, but I don't think this item needs buffs, and I definitely don't know why this item doesn't need buffs at all. It's definitely not like you just do a billion damage with it by stage 5. But yeah, Longstanding Solitude is dumb. Like, this item is so stupid overpowered. Like, you just get to max level by stage 5 and then just go and kill Mythics with relative ease. Like, you do so much damage at max level and you have so much health. It's insane. Like, this item is easily S tier, and there's really no debate about it. I don't think I need to explain any more on why getting max level without looping is powerful. So I'm just going to move on to Seed of Life. Seed of Life, again, doesn't need much explaining. It's just an equipment Dios, A tier. Like, that's literally it. It's just a Dios in your equipment slot, A tier. The Consume Seed of Life is shit. Like, it's terrible. D tier, you get no healing. You just get no healing. It's somehow worse than Monster Tooth. Crazy, I know. But yeah, that wraps things up. Please comment your opinions and if you would change anything. The things that I might change, like the things that I'm like really borderline on, are moving Antlers up to S, and honestly moving Runic Lens up to S. Because Runic Lens, it just works well everywhere. And, you know, Elusive Antlers is just insane movement speed, but this is the tier list. If you have any differing opinions from me, please comment them down below. and because I really like to see what some other people think. Mind you, I'm looking at this from an Eclipse 8 perspective without looping. I don't loop, I don't use lunars, and I play on Eclipse 8. So if your perspective differs vastly, you might be playing Monsoon or you might loop. So yeah, but like still, like even if you do like play on Monsoon or loop, just please, I want to hear everybody's opinions on this, because I have an open mind. I'm willing to change my opinion on some of these items if you can convince me that some are better or worse than I say they are. But yeah, it's gonna end things off. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to my yap, and goodbye.